everybody, this is Tracy here for another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Power Season 4, Episode 7, You Lied to My Face. So in this episode of Power, I can't say it was a great episode. It was definitely an interesting episode. And I think a lot was packed into this episode because now, we're definitely on the downside of the series. And so they've got to build us up for the tension of the season finale. Wait another year for them to return. And then I did, in an interview that they did with the guy who plays Dre, it was on the Breakfast Club, he said that he believed that next season is going to be 13 episodes. So we'll have to wait and see, but let's go ahead and get into the recap. So Ghost and Tyreek on the long ride home, from their adventure with Jukebox. And Kanan, I was like, dang, Kanan, you couldn't even give them a ride home? Like, they had to get on the subway and make their way back to where they live. So Ghost calls Tommy just as Grime is telling Tommy that Kanan and Ghost robbed him because Tommy walked into his, where they count the money at, and the place was just all torn apart with boxes and stuff thrown all over everywhere, and Grime was sitting on the floor. I guess he had been sitting there since the day before with his hands tied behind his back. So the scene was hilarious because the second Ghost said Tariq was in trouble, Tommy instantly forgot all about the money and went to pick Tariq and Ghost up. And actually, I don't think they ever, after that point, ever really talked about the money or how much money or where Kanan was at with the money or anything. Tommy seemed to take it all in stride that he had just gotten jacked. And since all that money isn't a thing, I still ask why Tasha didn't go to Tommy for help for the bills. Why did she go to Stern and take that money from him? So Tommy tells Ghost about the earlier ransom and the picture. Remember the picture where Kanan had his arm around Tariq's neck and around Tariq's shoulder. And I said, dang, like they were friends. They didn't recognize the tattoos. And so the arm was burnt up from the fire, so that's why they didn't recognize the tattoos. And plus, it's been 10 years since Kanan had went to jail. So they're having this entire conversation after they done told Tariq to go get in the car, but Tariq let the window down, so he's sitting there listening to him. So then Tommy goes over to Tariq, and asks him if he was telling the truth about Dre and if Dre was the one that introduced him to Kanan. And of course, this little punk, he's like, no, Dre just took me, he picked me up on the corner or whatever lie he told. And I'm just like, this little boy, he gonna learn. Eventually, he gonna learn. So Ghost and Tariq, they arrive at the house and Tasha's all over Tariq, asking him where he's been, why has he been lying, why hasn't anybody called her? And that, Tariq needs to be taken down a few notches because he's talking to Tasha like he done lost his mind. So Ghost steps in and tells her, what happened. Like he just picked him up shooting hoops at the park. Like Tariq was having a bad day and decided to go down to the park and play basketball, and that's where he found him. So they send Tariq to his room, and the two of them go into their, I don't know if they were in a room or wardrobe room or something, but they have this huge argument about Kanan. So Ghost makes the mistake and tells Tasha that she had one job while he was locked up. And y'all know, when people say that to you, you had one job and you couldn't do it. Because I remember I was out walking one day and they've been doing a lot of work in my neighborhood on the sewer line, trying to clean out the sewer lines. Anyway, I walked by these group of guys, and so, they have the big trucks out there, and they're running the foam through the sewer line. And so one guy is on this corner, and he has a sign that has stop on one side, slow on the other side. Then there's another guy down at the next block. And so basically, the street is down to one lane, so they're controlling traffic. So the one guy always be on his job with the sign, flipping it around. But the other guy, who's an older black man, always be sitting his behind on the curb like he just tired and wore out, and he's always on the end where there's a tree. So one day I just couldn't resist, and I said, you know what, you got one job. That's to stand out there with that sign and help direct traffic, and you can't even do that right. And so he started laughing to me, oh Lord, you sounding like my mom. But it's the truth. One job, and y'all can't do it right. So that's what Ghost was telling Miss Tasha, and Tasha did not take kindly to that. And so I was like, oh no, he did not just go there. Well, Tasha lets him know that keeping up with her lying wayward son was a job in and of itself. Then she threw in, the whole affair with Angela, and reminds him, that she was the reason that he was in jail. Let this woman, you were screwing this woman, let her come in and totally turn our lives upside down. And then you ended up in jail, and that's why I was here trying to deal with these kids. And so when Tasha said that he left his family for Angela, Ghost corrected her real quick and said, no, I left you for Angela. And I was like, oh. So that's what we doing now. Then the conversation went back to Kanan, and I'm like, hold up. Tasha gave the order for Ghost to kill Kanan? Like, I did not know that. And well, guess who's listening at the door? Not Tariq, but Miss Raina. So she's taking all this in, where they talking about, when Tasha say, but I told you to kill Kanan and you didn't do that. And Ghost's like, okay, well, I messed up. He's still alive. What we gonna do about it? I'm just like, these kids are gonna be so confused and messed up in life. So after getting the earful, Raina knocks on the door to let them know that someone is coming up, that and I don't understand how that works. Like, how does somebody control the elevator that leads into your home, and then they just sending people up without your approval? So, Raina's letting them know somebody's coming up. And I forgot that the kids hadn't seen their dad since he got out of prison. So despite that, hearing what she heard, Raina was happy to see her daddy, and she, ran over and hugged him and everything. And I'm sure, like most kids, she was happy to see him, but she had to have it in the back of her mind, like, dang, my parents ain't nothing but a bunch of murdering thugs. So Tommy and Dre, they meet up, and Tommy, confronts him about Tariq and Kanan. And then Dre is such a liar, but I'm wondering if Tommy is just seeing through the lies, because I couldn't figure it out. So Dre says that he did not know that Kanan was alive. I don't know who Jukebox is. So then he tells Tommy Julio was supposed to meet with a new connect, but I haven't heard from him in 24 hours. But by the way, there's his car over there. Like, we just happened to meet up where the car is in the parking lot. So y'all, Julio is really dead. In the words of Florida Evans, damn. I can't believe they let him die. So they go in and they find the body, and Dre learns about the deal with the Torres Locos people, in Ghost. And Tommy takes Julio's murder, as a direct insult on him, because he believes that the Toros Locos know that Ghost is out of the gang, and so they're not respecting him as the person in charge. And then Dre realizes that he has messed up for real at this point. But that didn't stop him from suggesting that Tommy promote him to Julio's position. And I think his arrogance is what's going to finally be his downfall, because Tommy is like in an emotional state. Like, even though Julio got on his nerves, that was still his boy, and he is upset about this death. But Dre just trying to figure out how he gonna come up from the situation. And I think that's what's gonna make Tommy start thinking about the whole situation. So Tommy tells Dre, he wants to meet the connect, and promotes Dre to being the distro. So all right, Dre, you got what you wanted. So Tommy tells Dre, to put Julio somewhere nice, because I guess when you're in the gang and you get murdered, you don't get to have funerals, and your family don't get closure. Like, they just dig a ditch somewhere and throw your butt into it. So after Tommy walks out, Dre goes and stands over Julio's body, talking about, I won. Okay, we're going to see how long that victory lasts. So just wait, your day is coming, Dre. Tommy goes to let Ghost know that Julio is dead, but Ghost doesn't seem too bothered by it. I thought Julio was his boy. So Ghost is telling Tommy that, he can't get retribution right now, because the last thing they need is a gang war going on. And that's true, but you could have shared a tear for your homie, Ghost. Like that. You lost a point on that one. So Tommy is upset that Ghost is telling him what to do, and Ghost reminds him that he still could be retried, for killing Greg Knox, so he has to lay low. And then Tommy reveals that he knows that Ghost knew Ruiz was wired when he went in to meet with him. And Ghost says that that's why he went to Knox's apartment to steal the recording. And it's amazing how many lies and secrets are between all of them. And then when stuff happens, stuff starts coming out, but nobody sits back to say, dang, I can't trust this person. So when things erupt for real, it is going to be real bad. So Tommy leaves to go meet with the Toros locals, and Ghost goes to meet with Proctor, who tells him how Tommy killed Bailey and he cleaned up the mess. And so Proctor tells Ghost that Tommy is the weakest link and that he is a live wire that they probably need to get rid of. And so Ghost tells him to have his apartment professionally cleaned again and again and again and again. So Ghost is just like, what? I wasn't in prison that long. Like, what happened? So Tommy and Dre meet up with this guy Ural. He was the one from the locals, from the Torres locals who set up the whole killing of Julio. So he's speaking. So they have the guy who actually killed Julio, and he's speaking in Spanish, but Tommy doesn't understand Spanish, so he ends up killing the guy, and Dre is saved once again. So Tommy tells Ural that he wants to meet with the leader of the Torres Locals group, is a guy named Jimenez. And so Dre got everybody, like I said, everybody messed up with Dre, like, oh hell, like we didn't expect all this to happen. And Dre, I don't think he really understood, even though he told them not to make it look like a Toros Locals killing. I don't think he really understood about the tattoo and the significance of all that when it comes to these foreign gangs and stuff. Then there was this like random scene with this guy named Mason and his wife Celeste, and they were murdered by someone named Diego and Alicia. So they said that their informant within the narcotics department told them that an informant called in a tip and Mason was a rat or something. Like I said, it was so random. So after they killed Mason and his wife, they had a baby and they took the baby. And I was just like totally lost and confused by that whole scene. But then we learned that Diego is actually Diego Jimenez. And instead of the Jimenez brothers, I guess Diego and the woman that was with him when they killed Mason and Celeste, her name was Alicia, and so they're brothers and sisters, because Tommy was like, okay, I thought it was brothers, and then she was like, well, you were wrong, or you thought wrong, or something like that. So anyway, Tommy explains the whole Julio situation and says that he needs to be compensated for his loss. So he wants their old him and Ghost's old territory back that they gave to, I guess, was Ruiz? I don't know. It's just too many people. But anyway, they want their old territory that they got in exchange for getting Julio out of the game. And then they want 6 new corners that are currently held by the Toros Locals gang and a piece of their share out in the West Coast. So then the Diego guy is like, oh, did your Serbian boss send you in here to tell us that? And Tommy was like, no, he did not. And then he tells them that he was the one that killed Lobos. And so they were laughing. It's like, no, you didn't. We killed Lobos. We hired a hit and he was stabbed or whatever. So then Tommy, give them enough information to let them know that Lobos did not die during their hit, that their guy was actually murdered, and that he was the one that took Lobos out. And he's like, well, now think about it, you owe me twice. And so I'm just sitting there like, Tommy just be over damn sharing. And then you oversharing in front of Dre, because Dre's facial expressions through this whole episode was like, well, Dana. Like the whole episode, Dre was like, I may be in a little too deep. I may not have thought this thing through. I didn't study for the quiz because it is some dangerous stuff going on, and Tommy is really crazy. So Simon Stern may need to go. Also, I may need to add him to my list of people that need to die on this show, because how do you just show up at someone's home early in the morning and with people in tow? So when Rena had came to tell them that somebody was on their way up, it was Stern and 2 publicists that he's hired. So he wants to do a magazine spread on Ghost, to promote him as this new black real estate man, who's going to help with these projects and be a minority business in the city and everything. And so the woman sachets through the house like taking notes and looking around saying, oh, we're going to need to redecorate for the interview because the interview is going to take place here. We need the whole family. We need the kids and everybody. And Tasha is like, what damn interview? Like, what are you talking about? So obviously her and Ghost ain't communicating. So Tasha's like, what's going on? And then, Tasha, she's starting to protest, like she's not doing it, she's not involving her kids in any of this. And then, Simon Stern starts telling Ghost, like how much this is going to do to improve his image and make him look like a legitimate businessman, and it'll help him if they try to retry him because now he'll be built this image and everything. And so he goes over to Tasha and pretty much overrules her and tells her that they will be doing the interview and the kids will be there. So after all that is over and done with, Tasha is talking to Raina, so she's trying to grill her about how much of their conversation she heard from earlier, and Raina just flipped the script and pulled the Tyreek on Tasha. It was just like, I'm not a kid anymore. You're not going to be talking to me like this, and I need answers. I'm in this house. I'm a part of this mess, and I'm just like, Tasha, you need to bring your kids in. You need to get a belt or an extension cord or something for these kids be kicking your behind up in this house. So Tasha, calms her down and feeds her a little bit of information and basically tells Raina that she needs her eyes and ears to figure out what's going on with Tariq and see what information she can get out of Tariq. And going forward, any and everything that Tariq tells her, she needs to come back and tell her mama and let her mama know what's going on. So Tasha meets with Silver to tell him about, the interview, and Silver says that he would be there, to coach them, but he doesn't want to be her husband attorney anymore. Why is that, Silver? Why you want to be Ghost attorney? I thought you was like the top man when it came to capital cases dealing with the kingpin law. Like, I thought that this is what attorneys like you live for. They say that you are 3-1 with these death penalty cases. So why you want to back down from a challenge, Silver? Well, we're going to find out why. So I don't know who's zooming who, but there was a lot of lip licking and eye batting when they were having this conversation. So Tasha tells Silver that she needs him. So please don't quit the case. So he looks at her and says, yeah, I won't leave the case. I'm here for you, Tasha. So I'm just like, y'all so... Okay, anyway, so at the interview, the lies are flowing until the interviewer asks Tasha why she isn't wearing her wedding ring. So everybody always zoom in on their wedding ring finger when it comes to these two. So she says that she had to sell the ring while Ghost was in jail. So then the woman brought up the affair about Angela and how she had Ghost charged, and he was facing the death penalty, and how painful it must have been for Tasha, to have to live through all of that and go to court every day, with his mistress sitting over there. And so I'm thinking, why is y'all having this conversation in front of these kids? So they all on the sofa in like this perfect family portrait, like a portrait from Dynasty and Dallas when those shows used to come on. And so Tariq is sitting there, he all dressed up like, this is some real interesting ish y'all putting out right now. And Raina's sitting there, because she loved her mom and her daddy to death. And then the poor little baby girl who, I don't even know what the little baby name is, so she's clueless and don't know what's going on. But, Tasha throws in the BS talking about she needed the money to hire, their talented lawyer. And then she looks over at Silver, making Google eyes at him. And then she starts stroking Ghost's ego. And I'm thinking that this is so ridiculously funny because Tasha is the real Queen Bee. But, she got both of her men up there in that house, and she is putting on a show, and both of them, just stroking their egos. At the same time, I'm like, girl, Tasha, I'm seeing you in a whole different light on this episode. After the meeting, Tariq meets with Dre, and Dre asks him, why did Tariq lie to Tommy and not let him know that he had known about him and Kanan? So Tariq says because he needs to know the truth about Kanan and his dad and their past. So to show goodwill, Tariq decided to share with Dre everything that Kanan had shared with him. But Dre was sitting there looking like, Kanan told you all that? Like, okay, boy, what you up to? Like, what should I tell you? But at the end of the conversation, Dre said more with his silence than if he had talked and told Kanan and had actually told Tariq what really happened. So Tariq is in his room sipping on that lean and playing video games when Ghost comes in, to have man-to-man talk with him about Kanan. So Ghost is like, dang, because it was like a violent video, like he was shooting people and everything, and so probably like the Grand Theft Auto video game or something. And so Ghost is like, dang man, like you ain't after seeing Jukebox get killed, that don't bother you? And I'm just like, why are y'all talking about what happened with him like it was nothing, like it was a day at the park? And I'm just really confused why the writers are handling the situation that way. But anyway, so now Tariq is trying to play his dad, to get more information. And I don't understand what Tariq is up to. Like, why is it so important for him to get the full story about what happened between them? So we're going to keep our eye on this little demon. So while they're talking, Teresi calls and Ghost remembers that he has to get that phone to Tommy. So he tells Tariq, they'll finish their conversation later. But for now, come on into the kitchen because they get ready to have dinner. Then we have this random scene with Tasha hanging out with Silver and his friends at a karaoke bar. And she's singing the Whitney Houston song from The Bodyguard, Take My Life or Take Me for What I Ain't, whatever that song is. But she's supposed to be with Keisha. At least that's what Ghost told Tariq when he was telling him to come in and eat dinner. Okay, this whole reveal of Tasha and Silver relationship I thought was poorly written. And I know in my last recap I said that something was going on between these two. And I don't know what it is, but here it is. Just what I said, that them two were screwing each other. So they wrote the show to make us believe that it's a growing relationship and they just suddenly caught feelings and, decide to act on those feelings. But the way the dialogue is and the body language is, they're acting like two people with a big secret who've been screwing each other all along and who may have known each other longer than the show is purporting that they have known each other. So I don't know if they're trying to keep up appearances for people or if this is just bad acting and bad writing in these scenes. After that little scene, Tasha goes back home, and I couldn't figure out if it was the same night or if it was the next day. But Tasha comes out of the bathroom after taking a shower, and she finds a ring box on the pillow. So Ghost lets her know that Simon has planned a party for him at the club, and she needs to be there. And so he tells her, he got her the replacement ring, one for display at the party, but then he also tells her that he was seeing her in a new light after that interview that they did. And so he tells her that when he first met Tasha, she made him a better criminal, but at the interview, she made him a better man. So I did a video yesterday or over the weekend on Black love and how Black women are being portrayed on television when it comes to relationships and love, and I'll put the link below. But in that, I was talking about Tasha and the whole women holding men down, in their criminal activity. But after this episode, I'm starting to think that Tasha might be the bigger criminal and she might be holding Ghost down. Like, because we done had two revelations in this episode that makes it seem like Tasha is the real mastermind behind this whole empire that they built. So while they were at the party, Tommy comes over and tries to talk to Tariq and tell him that Kana, isn't coming back and, he shouldn't be scared. So now Tariq is like, I ain't scared of Kana and I ain't scared of y'all either, but I need some more information about what's going on. So now he's interrogating Tommy about Kana. So Tommy looking at him like, you know what? This is a conversation your dad needs to have. This is his truth. This is his story to tell. So you go talk to your dad about this. Just like, boy, Tariq, you got him bouncing around. So pause right here, because y'all know I have been talking about this like for the past few months, how all these shows have similar scenes within it. So here's another example. So we had two scenes in Power this week that were from episodes of Queen Sugar that ran on Wednesday night. So in Queen Sugar, you remember Terry, if you watch the show, the character Charlie had this big magazine reveal about her new business where she opened up the sugar mill. And so here we have Simon, coming in telling Ghost, hey, we need to do this big magazine spread, show you reinventing yourself and you're this powerful businessman. Same thing. And then we have this line about it wasn't my truth to tell. So on Queen Sugar, when Charlie confronted Darla about, knowing that Ralph Angel had that letter, Darla said, it wasn't my truth to tell. He needs to tell you his story in his own time, his own way. Why did we just have that line in Power when Tommy was talking to Tariq? So I know I'm not crazy. I know this stuff is happening. So I don't know if they have the same producers, writers, people freelancing and they working on these different shows. But you would think at some point they would be realizing these similarities just like the viewers are. After Tommy leaves, Raina comes in to talk to Tariq. And so she's telling Tariq that she found a school in Connecticut that she's going to get their mom to send them to. And Tariq was like, I ain't going to no school in Connecticut. Like, what do you want? So those two get to arguing, and Tariq is like, our parents are liars. They're killers. Kanan told me everything. And then, Raina said, oh, well, you know what? I overheard a conversation with mom and dad. So she just being calculating just like Tasha. So she gonna reveal what little bit of information she know. So then Tariq is yelling at her. So she ended up pushing Tariq. And then Tariq came and pushed her so hard that she flew out the room and he slammed the door on her. And I'm just like... Ghost and Tasha, y'all kids are falling apart. But you are so blind and cannot see it. And then I'm sitting there wondering, like, okay, is Ghost going to end up having to kill Tariq like Kanan killed Sean? Over at the party, there's a brief exchange between Ghost and the lady who interviewed him. And so I don't know if she was coming on to Ghost or what, but she told Ghost that Tasha wasn't in love with him anymore, so he need to let that go. Just like, okay. But she said she needs to get to know Ghost better. She needs to understand the inner workings of the man. So I don't know if that's to make for a better article or if she's sizing him up to see if maybe she wants to be the next Mrs. James St. Patrick. So then she also lets him know that there's this black this black councilman in the room, and that, Ghost needs to get to know him a little better. So I was like, okay. So then the councilman came up, and his name was Rashad Tate, and it was actually the actor Lorenz Tate. So I guess they added him to the cast. So now Ghost has to deal with Simon Stern telling him to stay away from Tate because Tate don't want him to build these projects, in the low income areas. But the guy that he had introduced him to earlier is the man he need to be talking to, because that's where the real money is. So now we know that this is going to be a point of tension between Ghost and Stern, because Ghost is like, why we can't do both of them. Then we move over to Tasha, and she's talking to Silver. So when he looks down and sees the new ring on her finger, he gets in his feelings and storm out. So when Simon and Ghost started talking, she exited to go find Silver. She was like, okay, well, guys, I'm going home. So she runs out after Silver. Now, tell me how Tasha knew where he lived. Because when they were at the karaoke bar, he told Tasha, oh, I know about this bar because I live around the corner. But he didn't say what building he lived in. He didn't say what address or anything. And then once again, what's up with people just getting off these elevators and being inside people's homes? And so Silver had obviously been at home for a while, so it wasn't like Tasha followed him out of the parking lot, and followed him home, because when they showed him, he had to took off his shirt and tie and jacket. He didn't have no shoes on or anything. So once again, I'm checking out the details. Then these two, they just can't resist the passion any longer, so they get into this hot, heated love scene, and All right, Silver. You went ahead and put it down on Tasha, and you looked a little better naked than you do in them suits. So we're going to give you a pass, but brother, beware, because it looks like Tasha is going to turn you out like she turned Sean out, and we know what happened to Sean, so you better watch your back. So over at the Fed's office, John is meeting with his team to let them know that he could only save himself with the people upstairs, and that they will probably all be fired, and don't worry, because he's going to continue the quest to bring Ghost to justice for the murder of Greg Knox. So Angela's like, well, you deserve to be punished too. How do you get off so easily? You know, but he was like, girl, you ain't as smart as I am. But y'all go ahead and get your resumes together, figure out what new career paths you want to take, because I think when this is all said and done, none of you will be working for the federal government, and none of you will be working for law enforcement. I'm like, he is so obnoxious. So the Keystone cops are trying to figure out how they're going to save their jobs. And so Cooper still believes that Ghost killed Knox, but Angela argues that, you know, they need to have a trail for the gun and figure out how the gun got into the bar area or wherever they found it at up in Ghost's office. So Mike is just standing there listening like, I'm gonna let y'all play out what you think happened, and then I'm gonna figure out what angle best suits me. And keeping you guys away from knowing that I am actually the mole and the one that killed Greg Knox. Well, Mike's angle is to frame Donovan. So that's what he came up with. We're going to frame Donovan. So while he and Cooper go in to meet with John to tell John their theory, Angela is meeting with Donovan to get his help in reviewing all of the footage from the club, so she knows whoever planted the gun had to get upstairs in order to do so, and that has to be on the footage somewhere. Then we have a meeting where it's just Cooper and John, and so we learned that John put the tracker on Bailey's phone and said that he didn't want to put the tracker on Cooper's phone because he didn't want to, hear about all these calls that he was making to sex chat lines and stuff. And so he knows that Bailey and Cooper met. And we also learned later in the show that he knows that Bailey's last call was to Proctor and that it pinged off the tower closest to Proctor's home. So put a pin in there. We're going to get back to that later. So later that night, Donovan shows up at Angela's house, with a portable drive containing the footage from the club. And it just amazes me how this heifer can always get these men to do whatever she wants them to do. Just always amazes me. So he tells Angela that Cooper was the MCC when the guy who was supposed to have killed Lobos was killed. So he also lets her know that Cooper met with Bailey off the books, and so he didn't know what that conversation was about, but that Bailey, had this information, which Angela already knew because he had came and talked to her. So as they review the video and discover Mike going up the stairs, Cooper shows up. So Angela goes to open the door, and then Cooper starts telling her, all this information, and then he reveals that they think Donovan is the mole. And so now, Angela lets him know that Donovan is in there and heard him. So now they got to let Cooper in on what they found out, that Mike may be the mole because he was seen going up the stairs. So at the same time, Mike meets with John, and he's trying to figure out, which makes the better mole, Donovan or Cooper. So he says that he is going to question Donovan the following day. So Mike then shows up at Donovan's place to kill him, but Donovan's daughter answers the door, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Like, you just killing all of your fellow co-workers. Like, dude, what is wrong with you? So the show ends with Tommy going to see, Ghost, because remember Ghost had texted him earlier, to let him know that he needed to talk to him. So we have another moment of sharing. So, Ghost tells him, you need to call Teresa because he witnessed me kill the marshal at the prison. And by the way, tell me about the Homeland guy. So Ghost is simply like amazed at all the stuff that happened while he was locked up, but even more amazed that Tommy allowed Proctor to keep Bailey's computer and body, and that some unknown person was used to clean up the mess. And so he lets Tommy know that all of this can come back on us and screw everybody up, especially if Proctor has the evidence to hold against them if stuff hits the fan. So he has the body and he has the computer with all the recordings on it. So he also reminds Tommy that Proctor is no longer either of their attorneys, so he's not obligated to keep any of this information to himself. So the scene goes to Proctor, and he's walking up to his apartment building when John comes up to let him know that he knows that Bailey is missing. He's been missing for a week now, and that his last call was made to Proctor, but it pinged out the tower nearest Proctor's apartment. And so he tells Proctor that Ghost and Tommy are going to kill him, but he needs to talk to him first before any of this killing takes place. So Proctor tells him to kiss off, and when John drives away, we see Ghost hiding in the shadows, having witnessed this whole interaction. So I don't know if Ghost about to go up there and kill Proctor or what's about to happen, but I'm like, Proctor got a daughter. Like, leave him alone. He ain't trying to tell on y'all. So hopefully Ghost will talk to Proctor before he takes him out. So Tommy calls Teresi, and we learn, what we already knew. Teresi is his daddy and wants Tommy to come by the prison so that they can meet in person. So, Tommy cussing him out like, you ain't my dad dead. But then Teresi started talking about Kate and how Kate had them long, sexy legs and that beautiful long red hair. And Tommy's like, what the hell? So the show ended with Tommy sitting in the SUV like, can things get any worse? So guys, that's it for me. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought about the episode. Rate the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with your social media followings. And until next time, guys, I'll talk to you later. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Bye-bye.